There we go.
All right. Mike, are you? I know I'm off camera, but are we ready to go?
Yeah, we're ready. I'm gonna go first. You guys go, and we'll lead on from there.
Okay, everyone, we're gonna spread out. You're off camera, so you have to move with us, nice closer. And Joe and I, you're gonna off camera for that close. Over to
Yeah. Ready?
we are ready. So, you want us to introduce today, or do you like to introduce the debate? We can go either way. Let us know when you're ready, and then we'll start with the introduction, and then we'll in the debate.
Awesome. I'll go first. So I'm Christoph Dalvila, and today's topic is homework beneficial? I will be the first speaker. And before I begin, I'd like to give a quote. Because I believe in Alan Kahn, an educator and a parenting expert, when he said, there's no evidence that any amount of homework improves academic performance. So we are here today representing the position of whether or not homework is beneficial. We are here saying that it's not. Before I begin, I would like to define some terms. So first, what exactly is homework? Homework is work that classes give you from school that you typically do at home, and hence the name homework. Second term I like to define is beneficial, is meaning to result in good. And third term is harmful, to inflict pain mentally or physically. Now I'll begin my argument. Too much homework can cause psychological harm, or it can be harmful psychologically. Let's see. A poll from a school in California found that 59% of students thought they had too much homework. 82% of respondents said they often were always stressed out by the homework. According to the study of CERN, it showed that low-income students are already disadvantaged when it comes to homework, and especially homework that requires internet access. The study.
Well, if you're in the building, can you please come to the main office? That's 15 Greywall.
The study also found that the low-income students have less time on their hands to do homework, and that they have problems outside of school, like work, taking care of siblings, etc. Problems that typically high-income students wouldn't face. One of the great yet often problems of homework is shows how disproportionately it affects students in affluent families, less affluent families. The American Psychological Association, or APA, explained kids from wealthier homes are more likely to have resources such as computers, internet connections, dedicated areas to do schoolwork, and parents who have more time in their hands and tend to interact with them even more. Kids from disadvantaged homes are most likely to go to have something outside of school, whether it be work, whether it be jobs, whether it be taking care of siblings, or be home without supervision in the evenings while their parents have multiple jobs. While students are growing up with more affluent areas, they're likely playing sports, participating in recreational activities after school, or receiving additional tutoring. Children who are in disadvantaged areas are more likely to head to work after school, take care of siblings, while their parents are dealing with unstable home life. Adding homework into this mix doesn't make it any better. And if the students are struggling, the tasks are completing homework, they can have too much to consider at the end of their day. This builds a great deal of stress, causing psychological problems on low income circumstances, and our society is struggling today. Research showed that excessive homework can associate with high stress levels of physical health problems, and the lack of balance of our children's life is Oh, okay, sorry. Hold on. Sorry. All right, sorry. Give me a second. All right. So, where was I? Yeah, research showed that excessive homework is associated by high stress levels. Physical students in a study cited homework is a primary stressor in their lives. According to a CNN story, that children are growing up in poverty are at risk of numbers that alignments both intuitive and well supported by research. More difficult is to believe that growing concerns that children are on the other end of the spectrum, children raised with affluence may also be at risk. In a study conducted by OECD, it found that after 4 hours of homework per week and additional time in investing of homework, it had negatively impacted on their performance. That means by asking our children to put more hour per day on the dedicated homework time, we are not helping them. But according to the affirmation studies, show that they are hurting them both physically and emotionally. So my evidence I presented were the poll data and the data from the APA, also data from the OECD, and articles from the CNN. That is my time. I am open for questions. Thank you. Oh, or we can do questions after you've done your speech.
Yeah, we're gonna do questions and rebuttals right after. So from our side, psychological, you guys are good to go.
Wait. So is it like,
You speak, they speak, and then ask questions.
okay,
Yeah,
so.
so we're gonna do speech, and then question / rebuttal.
All right, awesome.
Okay, so for the psychological aspects of like why homework is really beneficial is that when kids complete their homework, they feel good about themselves, and that helps them gain self-confidence and makes them feel that they did something productive. And by doing so, they not only polish their various skills, but also like get better in like subject matter and learn how to manage their time.
It also affects their mental health. Many times students are unable to understand the unit in class and do homework they can get a better understanding. These homework questions many times are designed asking what the teacher expects you to have. This way you can have a guideline. Because this homework can help students understand topics, they can feel much better and focus on their mental health. A study from the University of Munich followed 424 students around campus and found that boredom led to lower test results, which led to more boredom and thus lower test results. Boredom caused by lack of things to do can result in a decline in mental health and has a strong link to depression as well. Homework provides these helps fill being alone with thoughts. This way they don't fall into a bad cycle.
Now getting work done all the time teaches schools about discipline. By completing their homework, they are not only preparing themselves for future examinations and tests, they're also learning about hardship, and that's how they will grow up. It's not like everything is gonna be handed to them by going through difficulties, and they will understand that life is not always going to be simple. You will also know how to future way in completing previous study time. They will choose, for example, what their management and
Sorry, could you speak a little louder?
Yeah.
Come up here. Come over here. We have to go. Yeah, so just come over here so we can hear you clear.
Someone gave it to me.
The light bulb that we're using is that.
Maybe somebody can log in from like.
That's fine. We can just stay here for now.
The
That's
best
cool.
off is coming out the light bulb. See that. Let's see there.
Homework is beneficial for cognitive behavioral therapy. Homework helps with CBT as it provides structure and activities that help patients overcome issues, problems that seriously affect their day-to-day lives. CBT provides patients with homework to be completed as a source to get them help with mental health and problem solving. In a setting like a school, homework and CBT helps with building new skills, practicing those newly built skills, and it comes in forms of assignments. CBT provides this source, homework, as this leads to relieving some anxiety, stress, and challenging them by getting clients out of a comfort zone, understanding their emotions, how to express those thoughts and feelings, and increase their understanding. Assigning day-to-day homework in a typical educational setting and style allows clients to express everything that they're thinking, feeling, or just want to share with others. Providing homework becomes a new and important skill set for those clients to take out of their toolbox and to be used in their everyday lives. With having homework during sessions and outside of the therapeutic sessions, this is done so they can build up a new ability and strategy where they can do this on their own. This strategy of homework that is being provided helps clients and builds some sort of support that helps disorders such as GAD, PTSD, OCD, and phobias. The treatment of using homework and assignments helps with distortions and stepping away from smaller problems to focusing on larger issues that affect them greatly. Homework and CBT assist with the idea of personal and cognitive growth.
Got it. So this is all from our side, and now we'll proceed on to questions. So since you guys started this off, do you guys have any questions for our side?
Yeah, so one question I have is there a limit? Like, how much homework is too much homework until it starts to negatively affect a person?
Anyone of you can answer.
If you're responding, I would just, in order to be asked a question, maybe you want to sit in the front of the whole section. And do that. I can't hear you.
Okay. And it's gonna come right up and then we'll go.
Like, even if it's like too much, that shouldn't be like a problem, because even like if people are dealing with homework, they at least like learn how to deal with like pressure and stuff like that, because even if like they go ahead in life, it's not always going to be easy.
All right, so essentially you're ignoring all the negative effects, saying there's more positive in the end. I'm not trying to like straw man you here, just saying there's more benefit to it than there's negative, right?
I think we're good. We can continue on.
Is that it?
No, were you saying something?
Yeah.
Yes, I was, sorry. I said, so, are you suggesting that like there's more benefit to it than there is negative like impact to it, from the homework itself?
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
So the studies that you mentioned, or that your speaker mentioned, I'm quite familiar with. They mention that yes, it can be beneficial, but that's not the totality of the circumstance. Since everyone has a different circumstance, not everyone's going to have the same results. Sure, there are homework and there are people that it helps in mentally, sure, but that's not the totality. That's not how the general rule is. And when it comes to people, average people like you and I, or people who are lesser than us, they're actually suffering. They're suffering mentally and economically. But I'm not going to get to the economic part. Psychologically, due to the fact that they cannot actually perform the work, and due to the fact they have less time in their hands. So my question is, like, what do you have to say to that? It's like, since it's not the general rule, what about the people who it does negatively affect? Should homework be like not required for them? Should homework be only required for some people who actually need it? What's your position?
Okay, the thing is, I understand what your point is about like how it's not every person is the same. But then when you're looking at it, people that need more time and need more support, it is always available to them. So a lot of teachers, they're like freely to be like, okay, come to me for extra time. So if people feel like they have something going on in their lives and they need more time, they have the ability to go ask for help. overall, homework is honestly just gonna help them time manage better so they know what they're doing at what certain times of their lives. It's just to them taking responsibility and going to their teacher or whoever they're getting homework from and telling them that they need more support or they need more time or an extension.
Okay, but that's an exception, not the general. Okay, how about the people who don't have time? People like, say me, right after school, I gotta go to work. I help my parents pay the bills, stuff like that. I typically don't have any time in my hands to do homework, and as a result, I am like, it's negatively impacting me. So, what would you have to say for people who are in the situation like that?
I mean, it's like if you've chosen like a specific academic field, there has to be like, let's say you want to become a doctor. It's not like if you don't practice how to do the test and stuff like that, and you gotta be perfect at it. So it's like practice makes the man perfect. So if you don't practice when you come back, like the stuff that you did at school, if you don't do that, how do you think you're gonna become like a good doctor? So it's like in like academic field, it's really like essential that we practice and come home and do stuff.
So we are gonna move on to our side as our time is upping. So do you guys, anyone from our side have any questions?
Go for it.
Okay, well, we can continue on from your side unless you guys have any other questions. So if you have like one more question, you guys can say that right now.
So I don't have a question, just want to address what you said. So how you mentioned an example of doctors and how, yes, practice makes perfect. In that situation, yeah, sure, I would agree with you, but you don't really need to do homework to be a doctor. You don't need to do homework to pass school. You don't need to do homework to be successful or even to get good grades. Essentially, all homework is just there. And sure, let's just say it has positive effects. But for people who don't have time in their hands, as I mentioned, will be negatively impacted. That's all I wanted to say. If you guys have any questions, go for it.
I think we're good, and we are going to move on as we have reached our 5-minute time frame. So starting off, since you guys started us off, we'd like to go on with your education point now as well.
Yes. Next speaker.
I'll start whenever it settles down. Back to my place.
I don't know, because it beeped and then it went off, I think. It just kind of open up the chat.
Okay. So I have the educational speech, and so it is well known that schools give out homework for students to do on a daily basis. Whether the homework is easy and takes 5 minutes to do, or it takes more than a few days to do, a lot of students can agree with me that homework isn't fun to do. At more advanced schools, especially, the amount of homework that can be outrageous, and because of that, it affects them in various ways. So first, with the sleep schedule, we all know how sleep is important for human beings. In schools, the amount of homework given can affect the student's sleep schedule, which in return affects their school performance. Being exhausted in school would make the students less tired. Students more tired during classes because they stayed up to do their homework, which is very time consuming. Students have also, they also have things they need to do just like everyone else, but homework builds up. So they don't focus on the things that they want to do because homework needs to be completed so the students' grades don't drop. A lot of students are very active in school and do do clubs and sports, and become tired after their practices or club meetings. Since homework is given out almost daily, students have to rush and do it before their meetings or practices or do it after the fact. Unfortunately, meetings and practices take a while to get done, which puts students at the end of the day where they are exhausted and don't want to do their work. A lot of students may or may not have time to do their homework, or they simply are too tired to do their homework. Despite this, they have to do their homework to maintain their grades.
Did you guys pause for a second?
Yeah.
All right, you guys can go ahead. We were just testing our mic. Sorry.
Okay. So despite this, they have to do their homework to maintain their grades. Depending on what type of homework students get, it could drag out, which affects their sleep schedule. A lot of students don't get enough sleep because of the homework that drags itself, so students would have to stay up to complete it, which gives them only a few hours of sleep and affects their school performance. So for students who don't do any clubs or sports, homework is probably the cause of their stress. Parents may not want their children to have grades below average and would use any means necessary to make sure they have a good grade, which means not letting them play sports or participate in clubs. This doesn't mean they're any less impacted by the insane amount of homework. Stress is a feeling of tension emotionally and physically, which is common for people and sometimes unhealthy. Stressing out about homework is common among students. In some classes, homework would consist of packets to do and complete for the next class. So students would stress about it until it gets completed. Stress is bad and it can affect students in negative ways. Too much stress can result in health problems and relationship problems, and it can affect the person's emotions and make them angry or sad, leading to decrease of mental health or even physical health. And it can even affect relationships race. And then time, depending on the homework, on the amount of homework a person has, it could take a few hours to complete. Because of this, students don't have enough time to spend with their friends or family. A lot of students are more worried about their grades and their relationships, and that isn't healthy. Spending more time on homework than friends and family can result in a deteriorating mental state because a lot of students are so stressed about homework, they forget about their own needs socially and actively. A lot of classes give out daily homework, so the students have to do whatever the amount of homework is by each day. And homework is very time consuming, and it usually takes 10 minutes to a few hours to complete depending on the class. So doing so much homework during the day could also affect the students' relationships, and students sacrifice their time to do their homework and won't have as much time to hang out with friends and family. Granted, the students might not have a lot of homework to do. It is still time consuming and they are all different and all take different amounts of time to do their homework. So because of this, certain students will have a lot of time. That's just okay. And so our teens sleep deprived. So the Journal of Adolescent Health states that 8% of high schoolers in the US get the recommended 9 hours of sleep each night. They also state that 23% of high school students get 6 hours or less of sleep, and 10% get 5 hours or less. And so homework can cause anxiety. A study conducted by Stanford University determined that students who feel that they spend too much time on homework experience stress and physical ailments that can be tied to anxiety. They also have cited that the students have a difficulty balancing everything in their life, including family time and extracurricular activities, in addition to homework, which can contribute to anxiety. And homework itself might not be a direct cause of depression, but it can have an indirect relationship. Students who feel overwhelmed with homework can have a harder time balancing their family life, extracurricular activities, and social life. This can lead them to isolation and depression. And my last thing is, does homework take away from a person's childhood? If a child has excessive amounts of homework and they have trouble balancing their life outside of school, it may take away from their childhood. Not having time to go outside, play with friends, or just chill could take away from the milestone experience of childhood.
Okay, on to our science presentation points, and then we'll go on to the rebuttal / questions. Go ahead.
Throughout all of school, we have had homework to help us improve and to help us make sure that we know how to do it. Homework will help us develop the essential skills that will help us in the future.
Doing just a couple hours of homework each day will give people a better understanding of their subject. In high school, there are many different subjects that you can learn. For example, computer science or computer editing. But to make sure that you really know how to do what you're doing, you have homework to improve. Studies have showed that homework increases exam scores and test grades, right? The reason why is because homework aids you and offers increased discipline for revision. Another study shows that students who spend 30 to 90 minutes on homework score about 40 points more than students who didn't study at all. It also talks about how people who did their homework outperform 69% of students who didn't do their homework at all.
Homework also helps you learn about time management. Time management helps children learn at a young age how to stay organized. The website kidsacademy.com talks about how children and teens struggle to take care of their items. Students should be informed of this because in the future, they'll need to learn how to manage their work. Time management helps students build responsibility, and a schedule is a great way to stay organized. Also, if they can't get a schedule, they can do it online.
Homework also helps people reinforce and develop good study habits. In class, around 50% of all the information that a teacher provides is understood. To make sure that what they learned is correct, we have homework to check people's understanding. I'm sure you have heard this saying before, but practice makes perfect. And the saying is completely correct. Because if you have any questions, you can always just ask. You might be thinking that the teacher is only checking for completion and not accuracy, but as I've said before, you can ask for help. So don't be afraid or embarrassed. It is absolutely fine. If there are any problems you have, your teacher can always help you improve and suggest strategies that will help you in the future, as they are there to help you.
My last reason why homework is beneficial is that it allows families to come closer. The reason why is because students will ask their parents or siblings for help. On teachnology.com, it talks about how this will not only help the student with their study, yet improve their family with a chance to get more involved in their children's homework. If a child is ever struggling, parents can call the teachers to inform them. That can help the child stay focused in their learning and improve. It also gives parents a better insight into what their children are learning about and doing at school, as well as a chance to review skills that they may have forgotten.
The reason why homework is beneficial is that it helps you understand your subjects and it helps you reinforce your study habits.
Helps you for the future.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, it's rebuttal, I guess, or
Yeah,
questions?
questions?
Okay, you got, Sarah.
No, we said we're finished. And it's
Okay,
their
so
rebuttal.
they are done now. So since again, Texas, you guys started off, you start off with our first question, so go right ahead.
Okay, so sorry. You had your concept of homework being practice makes perfect, but perfect isn't very it's an exactly an actual term. You can't actually have something be perfect. Practice can help you get better. I understand that, but also you can't just have kids doing homework every single day, because obviously there's certain things that it has to get done as well. There's like I had said, there's like sports to have extracurricular clubs and all of that. Like me, for example, I have to work after school, so obviously I can't do homework. Stress is very bad, like with homework as well. Like high school right now is currently the mentality the mentality of high school students to this day are the same. The anxiety levels of high school students to this day are the same anxiety levels that what is it called? Patients had in mental clinics back in the 1950s. So I'm so sorry. So that's what it was. Do you guys have any questions?
Yeah. We have a study that says that the average amount of homework or the average time for completion is 45 to 75 minutes. Right? That's how long the average homework is, right? And inherently, we have showed that doing homework, maybe not in the long term, it might be hurtful or cause stress, but in the short term, in the average 45 to 90 minutes, it is beneficial. So inherently, like what point are you sort of getting at by talking about 3-hour homework or 4-hour homework, things that are very uncommon?
Well, okay. sorry, I'm gonna go back to a point that you had previously made about how whenever, if you did have, if you struggled with homework, you could just ask your parents. But obviously, it's only like a certain amount of people who are above like whose parents have a comfortable living wage, and people who have a low income family, they can't, like their parents won't have time to help them with homework. They won't have time to ask a teacher for help. And obviously teachers have their time, like teachers have like their certain work schedules to have as well. So teachers won't be able to answer you either if you even ask for help from them as well. Or does that make sense, or is it like, did I not explain that right? Sorry.
I'm understanding your point. There are online programs and online like websites, like I don't know their exact name.
Wouldn't that be more time consuming either way?
Things like Unpaid Professor or things like that, right? That inherently offer help. And also schools offer KOI, I don't know if that's there in America, counting on you, after school programs and whatnot that are free to students that are there to help them. So even if they do not have a situation at home that can offer help, they have alternative programs for students who need help.
So, sorry. So like I had said before, like there's obviously people who work, like they're not gonna have time to come to school, do all of that, sorry. Like it's not gonna be like it's a time consuming thing to come and ask for help as well. Like obviously there's gonna be other students here that are gonna have the same questions. Obviously there's gonna be other people who are struggling with this problem more than you. They're also gonna be like the teachers, like they're gonna be focused on other things as well. Like that makes sense. Like they're gonna focus on the student who needs help. But what I'm getting at is that it's not something that everybody can do. Like who's gonna pick you up after? Like that's not a possibility either, if that makes sense.
So are you saying that you guys don't have time during lunches or during class time?
Our lunches are short. We don't have time. We barely even have time to eat.
How long are they?
30 minutes.
30 minutes, right? You have 30 minutes. That is depressing. That's depressing. No, there are times in class that teachers offer for you to do homework.
Actually, no, our teachers do not allow us to leave our classrooms.
Yeah, bro.
I'm pretty sure they mean by like asking questions during while the lesson is going on and like getting like information right then and there.
Like I don't know if you guys do it differently, but we have like 50 minutes in each class. We have 8 classes. We have 30-minute lunches.
At the moment, our schedule is that we have 2.5-hour classes, an hour lunch in between, and then another 2.5-hour class right after.
Our schedules are so different.
Yeah.
So, and we go to all of our classes each day. So each day we have every single class. It's repeated. I'm usually with Mr. Cunningham most of the day because I don't need that many classes to graduate. So I don't know if that makes any difference, but everybody else just goes to each class like 55 minutes and then they leave.
So we are gonna end this off right here because we are gonna move on to our last like topic or subtopic as we are like leaning over the time. So you guys can start off with your social arguments and then we'll continue on right after. Sarah, can you guys still hear us?
Yeah. Yeah, I can hear you guys.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Okay. How does homework affect students socially? The amount of homework given to students has risen by 51% since 1981. In most cases, this pushes them to order for custom essays online. A lot of homework can be overwhelming, affecting students in 5 negative ways. 1, how homework affects the psyche of students. The numerous hours they spend in class, on schoolwork, and away from family and friends lead them to experience exhaustion. Too much homework leads to some students becoming disheartened by school, and it chips away at their motivation for succeeding. As a result, homework becomes an uphill battle, which they feel they will never win despite putting in effort. When they continue to find homework difficult, they consider other ways of working on it, such as cheating. Getting enough time to relax, engage with friends and family members help the students have fun, thus raising their spirit and their psyche on schoolwork. However, when homework exceeds, it affects their emotional well-being, making them sad and unproductive students who would rather cheat their way through school. 2, homework affects human health. Studies documented in the Journal of Experimental Education conclude that homework that exceeds 2 hours is counterproductive to the health of students. So, how does homework affect students' health? A lot of assignments lead to mental and physical health problems for students. Over 70% of students say that school makes them experience stress with too much homework being the number one stressor. As a result, they have to struggle with the lack of energy and lack of sleep, loss of weight, stomach problems, headaches, and fatigue. Poor eating habits where students rely on fast food also coincide as they struggle to complete their assignments. When combined with the lack of physical activity, the students suffer from obesity and other health-related conditions. Also, they experience depression and anxiety. The pressure to attend all classes, finish their homework, as well as the time to make social connections cripples them. 3, how can parents help with homework? Being an active parent in the life of your child goes a long way towards promoting the health and well-being of children. Participating in the process of doing homework helps you identify if your child is facing challenges and provide them much needed support. This is okay. The first step is identifying the problem your child has by establishing whether their homework is too much. In elementary school, students should not spend over 20 minutes on homework, while in high school they should. What? Okay. So disregard that, sorry. Homework is acting as a substitute, as you guys have said. It's acting as a substitute to teaching your children. A parent should be teaching their children, yes. But when you say that parents should be helping with homework, it doesn't take into account that parents often work and in low income areas. This is like a systemic problem, essentially. So it's targeting, whether intentionally or not, it's targeting low income areas and areas that don't have an active parent, and it's obviously bringing your grade down. And actually homework is usually around 20% of your grade. So it's not only bringing people with low income like courses down the grade, but it's affecting them in the entire academic history. Okay, so hold on. How does a lot of homework affect students' performance? Burnout is a negative effect of homework. After spending the entire day learning, having to spend more hours doing too much homework, it leads to burnout. When they occur, students begin dragging their feet when it comes to working on assignments, and in some cases fail to complete them. Therefore, they end up getting poor grades, which affects their overall performance. Excessive homework also overshadows active learning, which is essential in the learning process. It encourages active participation of students in analyzing and applying what they learn in class in the real world. As a result, this limits the involvement of parents in process of learning and children collaboration with friends. Instead, it causes boredom, difficulties for the students to work alongside with others, and lack of skills in solving problems. Should students have homework? Well, this is a question many parents and students ask when they consider these adverse effects of homework. In most cases, it has crossed the line from being a tool for learning and becomes a source of suffering for students. With such effects, the cons of homework far outweighs the pros. Do you have any questions? Or wait, no, you have to, sorry.
Yeah, we'll be continuing on with questions afterwards, so you guys can go on from here. So our side, you guys can be done.
Hamna's going first.
So you're up first, and then
After Raj and then me.
okay, yeah. So Hamna, Raj, and then we'll continue on to Mars.
Okay. So teachers and parents don't often interact directly, and as a result, parents are not always involved in their child's education. And homework, however, breaks this barrier and allows for communication between the teachers, students, and parents. While students do homework, parents are being involved with the student's academic success and are given the opportunity to keep up with their child. Parents will be able to understand a student's strengths and overall weaknesses and be able to communicate this with their teachers and can bring any concerns they have and face them directly with the teacher. these measures can ensure academic success for a student, or at least encourage it. And on the other hand, without homework, there is going to be a lack of parent involvement in the student's academic life. And it's very essential for a parent to have understanding of what their child is doing, because they understand their child's needs. And homework essentially opens up this social network between parents, students, and teachers, which can help them, overall help them understand their students, their needs, and help them with their academic growth as they process throughout school and in the future.
Okay, is that all?
Raj, keep going.
Okay, so my point is that we have to make the point that those who graduate high school likely do homework, as those who do homework are more likely to take studies seriously. But here's the more important part. Those who are failing not get the proper supports they need if they have no idea where they're going wrong. If they can go and do a bit of homework, we're not advocating for 5-6 hours. That isn't something that anyone advocates for. We're advocating for a normal size of homework, and we're going to have them use that, identify where they are going wrong, if they are going wrong, so they can get help from their teachers. Now, if they don't understand the material, firstly, studies have shown that many people correlate or pass versus fail to mental health and self-worth. But by not giving them the proper supports, you are effectively making their mental health worse, even though you think it's the opposite. Right, so on top of that, if you are a high school dropout, which you might drop out if you are failing grades, right? Then you will not become that successful, as even though you guys have tried making that point, there are many studies that show that you are more likely to be unemployed if you don't have even a high school diploma. And at the end of the day, studies also show that being unemployed directly affects your social status, and in a very negative way. So in the long run, you're hurting them. In the short term, you're hurting them. And when there are no legitimate downsides to homework that cannot be combated, and okay, so there are no legitimate downsides that are worse than if you don't give them any homework. So there are no legitimate downsides like that. And if we're not giving them the help they need, then we are failing our student. And ultimately, homework is something we have to give them, even if it is in a small portion.
All right. So I believe that okay, earlier you guys said something about homework being more so a substitution for parenting.
Right.
But I feel like in a sense it's more so an extension of what you learned in school, because I'm pretty sure this is common knowledge by now. It might be, but in case you don't know, the human brain stops processing, or it stops growing at the age of 25. Now, until the age of 25, having to do having to take something in more than once for your brain to start actually processing it should be a normal practice. Because as a teen, your brain is still processing, and you're not always going to retain what you learn by just hearing it once. So repetitive practice is what's going to help you further grasp the concept so you can actually keep it for the long term.
Okay, that is all from our side, and now we'll proceed on to questions. So we'll start off again with Texas. Do you guys have any questions? And
yeah, so you guys suggested around like 90 minutes of homework per class, but it's not really applicable to our education system, because we have, as we were discussing earlier, we have 8 class periods, and solely by themselves, if you put it by themselves, you only have like what you could say like 90 minutes per class, but then you stack it on each other, and you also take into account like real life issues, real world issues with getting to school and getting back. So the transit from school back, you could say like at minimum is like 30 minutes, traffic, whatever. And then you sit down and you do your work, and let's say even if you only got like what, so our school ends like at 4:25, but we only get home around 5, and then you eat 5:30, right, lunch, and that's like minimum. And then if you do recommended amount of work, which would be for 8 classes, even if you don't get work, it's still overextending into time that you will not be able to spend socially. You can't spend it socially, you can't spend it with your parents. And you guys are saying it's really connecting parents together, when in instead of homework, you could have family bonding time. And homework doesn't really connect parents. In my experience, and I'm sure many of your other experiences, you end up getting frustrated that you're not learning the topic, and your parents don't often remember the topic because once you're already an adult, you don't have an obligation to remember science, social studies, whatever. So you often don't remember it and you rely on the internet. But if you're from low income, you can't rely on the internet. Or if you don't have access to internet where you live in a remote area, you just can't. So you get stuck failing your class, and it's all a result of homework.
Just to
Okay,
do your classes, do they go on for the entire year, or do you guys have semesters as well?
Yeah, we have a 3-month break, but it's still a very large semester. It's like
No, do you have like 8 classes for like a couple months, and then do you switch to another, or is it
Eight classes the whole year.
Yeah.
Okay, going on with that, like I know that you have 8 classes, but we have shorter terms.
Yeah,
so
that's what
we get through a lot of the information that like, yeah, we might have 4 classes for a couple months, but that also means that we have to get through that entire curriculum's worth of work in that same amount of time. And Raj, you can go ahead.
Okay, I was gonna say something. So you said about how parents are not always able to help, but what I'm basically saying is that parents don't always need to help. It's just they need to, even if they're just seeing their child struggle, they're able to have this understanding that they need help with this and be able to interact with teachers, and especially if they're in younger grades, be able to take this on directly with the teacher and be like, hey, my child is struggling, can you assist them with this?
Okay, so then the issue of homework is you wouldn't be doing it at home. That would be extra practice. Tutoring is not homework.
Going along, Raj, I think you wanted to say something.
Yes. So you mentioned something about homework targeting those who are low income because they may not have access to the internet and stuff like that, and their parents may have to work more jobs and all that. However, the problem with that logic is, firstly, there are libraries and many other supports where you can go there and you can have internet access. And here's the second part, and this is really, I understand Texas isn't the best funded. However, there are many support services that you can have for education. If you do not understand something, you can go to tutoring with your homework and they can walk you through it. You can, what's it called? There's multiple services, actually. I know that we're aware from. There are multiple services where you can get help for just about anything. And you can talk to people. I know that there are students you can talk to, actually. They encourage this in our school system as well. So in addition to everything.
Okay, so I would, oh wait, are you done? Sorry.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, so the fact of the matter is, as much as it may, if the student does nothing about target low-income neighborhoods, it will not actually affect them if they have the proper support system around them, which we do have. So for us, it doesn't really apply like that.
Okay, so wait, hold on. Sorry. Yeah. So that would, okay, it would be an unnecessary burden to, you don't understand your homework at home, and then you have to delay yourself several days worth of schooling that you could be using to educate yourself. And you can seek better help from teachers, yes, but that's not really homework and it's not tutoring. So if you bring your homework to a tutor, then it's just an unnecessary burden, especially for students that don't really need homework. And okay, so immigrants to this country cannot always help their children. I'm sure you can understand Canada is also a very diverse country. And so are you advocating to the school to raise a student or the parent?
Sorry, could you restate that last sentence?
Okay, so are you advocating for the school or the parent to raise the kid?
I'm advocating for the parent to raise a student. However, if you cannot help your child, then there are other supports. You've heard I'm sure you may have heard the phrase, it takes a village to raise a child. This applies here because if the parent cannot help out, it doesn't mean that the child just shouldn't get help, and it may be a burden. However, for all those students who don't understand the work, it is a worthy burden, because all of a sudden getting that homework where they figure out where they're going wrong may be the difference between them failing and going on to lead a life that isn't as great, or it could be the difference for them to get the help they need and to where they want to be in life, which is much more important in my opinion. So as much as it's a burden, it's a necessary and worthy burden.
So we are gonna put it off here because we are gonna go way over time if we continue on. We are just gonna do with like mini conclusion. So if from Texas, if you guys would like to say a few words for your conclusion, and then we'll do with ours, and then we'll end it off there.
Okay. So they're just say it? Okay. So to conclude why homework, we shouldn't have any homework because of the amount of stress that you'd get with all of that, plus other things that you obviously have to do on top of homework, schoolwork and all of that. And then how it's not as beneficial as you would want, as you would make it seem to be. It would just end up hurting your grade in the end. And it won't, like, you won't really retain any information from that either. And then your anxiety levels with that as well. You wouldn't really get much, you really can't get much done when you don't have a good mental health. And,
Cool. So Senna, go right ahead.
Oh, sorry.
Did they finish their conclusion?
No, I'm sorry.
Oh, so sorry, my bad. You guys can finish up today.
Yeah, I lost my place. Okay. Sorry. Okay. And so, yeah, so going back to your mental health with anxiety and depression, it won't really work with it either. Like whenever you're overworked and overstressed and then anxiety and your depression, you won't really have any like courage or sorry, that's not even the word. Any motivation to complete your work either. Along with like low-income families don't really have that benefit either because of how much help you would need with homework and how the advantage of people with a better income would have to be able to complete the homework. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Okay, so just to wrap up for the pro side, in conclusion, homework is beneficial for students because of various reasons that we have explored through a social perspective, a psychological perspective, and educational perspective. Homework is beneficial for various reasons. Doing a couple of hours of homework each day will lead you to have a better understanding of the homework material. You'll learn time management skills. It'll create open communication between teachers and parents, and many, many more reasons that we have discussed throughout this debate. So in conclusion, homework is beneficial.
Okay, that is all from us today. Mike, I think you're there right now. Are we going along with the feedback portion or are we skipping that? It is a pretty simple debate, so I don't see a reason to go through with it unless you really do want to.
Yeah, I would like to ask a couple of questions if I could real quick. How much homework do you guys normally do each day in your classes?
It depends on the courses.
Okay.
Like semester specifically, I have like very easy courses. So I'll spend about an hour on actual like schoolwork and like other times doing club related activities, but it isn't too much for me. But some of the people that I know that have like sciences and math do tend to spend a lot more.
Okay. And what time do you go to school and what time do you get out of school?
Our school starts at 8:50 and then we end at 3:04.
Okay. And how many classes do you have a day?
So we have 2 classes a day and they're both for 2.5 hours and it's like switches every week. So like it's a semester wise. So for about 4 months we have 4 classes, and then for the next 4 months, we'll have 4 different classes.
Wow. See, that is like totally, I can understand why you would be pro homework there, because that actually doesn't sound too terribly bad. Our problems here in the United States is we're still under the factory model where we'll start about 8:45 and we'll leave at 4:25. We have a half hour out for lunch and 5 minutes between classes each time, but
And then our second class that we do, we have we have intervention, so we have like 40 minutes in there, extra 40 minutes.
yeah. So it's kind of strange, but you literally could end up taking 7 hours, excuse me, you literally could take 7 hours of homework or 6 hours of homework a night. And I know some kids are actually doing that much, and that is what puts a lot of strain. And when we look at it a lot differently, if you only have one class.
Yeah, that is kind of, but it is what it is. Like for you
Oh,
guys,
yeah. That's one good thing about doing stuff like this, because we don't really realize we think this is normal, and we find out we're not normal.
But yeah, so like our information does come off a lot faster though. Like we're learning at a much faster speed, mainly
yeah.
because we cover all the material for a course in about 3.5, 4 months. And like while you guys have the entire year, so it does like depend on how much work the teacher gets as well.
Right. Now, do you have AP courses in that area too, or no?
We have different levels. So we have academic, which I'm assuming is what your AP is.
Uh-huh.
And then we have applied, which is slightly less, and then open. We're open and workplace courses, which are like simpler in a way.
Okay, now the reason I was asking is, do you have a test that they have to take to get credit for college or anything out like that after the 2.5 months or a period of time?
What we have is in the 4 years of high school, you need to get through 30 courses or credit requirements. And then like, that's what it is. So in those 4 years, you split it up by 8 courses, which does equal to 32. So you're allowed to have like extra spares as well.
Oh,
So
wow.
like courses that like, you can have a study course instead of having all courses.
Wow. It sounds like you have a very progressive school there. You should be very proud.
This is all of Ontario, I'm pretty sure, other than like some schools that may do it differently.
Oh, wow. It is really good though. I think I've known Clayton for a long time. I just never did ask questions like this. So this is kind of new. So this is interesting.
This is new for us too, because of COVID and all that, but we had in the past, we did have 2 semesters, but it was like you had every class for like 4, you had what, 4 classes a day? And you had it like every single day for like 4 or 5 months.
Oh, wow.
So it was what
Yeah.
you guys had for like 4 classes instead of 8.
So you guys are under mask now, and you still have social distancing or no?
No one cares. If we're being honest, no one cares anymore. It's the
Yeah.
cases are getting better. We are like, we have to wear masks and all that, but like,
There's, we don't have to wear masks after March.
well, we're looking at it in like March. We're hoping for the better.
Way better than ours. Than our COVID, yeah.
Well, Toronto was shut down real bad. Now, when we have a large immigration part here, our school probably is maybe 60-70% of our students will speak Spanish at the house. And a lot of people will come, and English help would be very hard for the parents that may have minimal education where they came from, and English not much at all. Is true there? Because I know Canada's much more diverse than we are.
It's the same thing. Like my parents are immigrant parents, and if I went to them with homework help, they would have no idea what I'm talking about. So like it's the whole thing, but it's about like getting help from like other places inside of school or like online videos and stuff as well.
Also to add on to that, a lot of the questions that we write are specifically designed for ESL students. English is a second language. So a lot of the math questions we have are specifically designed so it's purely just math and not.
Our education system is meant mostly for like minorities to fail. So
I won't put it that way, but
I would put it that way.
we have succeeded in a lot of people failing, if we put it that way, and it doesn't really help out.
Not really engaging.
Yeah, not as engaging as you guys. So that's another good thing to know.
I feel like usually like the motivation for teachers, since they're like very underpaid, it's like not that much.
I feel like all education systems and all, they need improvement. It's just certain areas might have it harder. Like some of the stuff that you guys do is kind of not great, but there's certain things about like our system that aren't like the best either. Like
Okay,
yeah,
tell us
sorry.
one thing that's not good in your system.
Okay,
So
so
we
COVID
feel better
happened-
about ourselves.
I don't want to feel better about
COVID,
myself.
so COVID happened and we had our hybrid models, which was like you would go into school for like 2 or 3 days and you would be at home the others, and it was so stupid. And
We
it's
did
like,
have that.
and then
We
like
had that last year.
yep, and now we have like some students at home, some in person. And like, yeah, like, well, Raj, I don't think they can see this, but like teachers are teaching both online and in-person students all at once.
Online kids don't get
No,
taught at all.
no, Clayton, are you teaching both online and in person?
He's in a different meeting right now, so kind of won't be able to answer.
Okay, so I just wonder how a teacher would feel about that, because that can't be easy.
Most of
Has that been like before, even before COVID? Has like that always been an option?
No.
No, right?
Before COVID, last year we had the option to choose. Like not before COVID though, like it's like you either come in person, so all of us obviously are in-person students. And then we have Sana, Hamna, and Raj who are online students from our thing.
No, our school, like you have to come to school. Like there wasn't an online option. That was last year. And like last year we had it where like if your last name starts with like A through L or something like that, you'd come Monday and Wednesday, and then the rest you'd go to school Tuesday and Thursday, and then everybody did online on Friday.
But for some people, it is a lot better.
We had like classes split up, and we had like some classes came in certain times and others didn't, but like that's just weird. I think we should end it off.
Okay.
with our-
Do you guys have a topic you'd like to discuss for next month?
Did we not finalize the topic that you sent in about a couple weeks ago?
Okay, what one did you want? I sent a couple of things.
We'll reach out to you. I'll email you very soon to like finalize the
Okay.
topic for next month.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, go ahead.
Bye.
Okay, well, we'll see you in December with our next
Okay.
topic. We'll email you. very
Thank you
soon.
so much.
Oh, so stupid.
Yeah, have a great rest of your day.
GG guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Have a great next rest of the week, month.
Same to you.
It's under meeting, right?
Yeah. And then,
It's right here.
yeah.